Welcome to the Schools of Excellence podcast, where we transform everyday leadership struggles into powerful legacies that impact generations. I'm your host, Chanie Wilschanski, a 20-year veteran of school leadership who has helped hundreds of school leaders achieve what many thought was impossible through our signature programs, School Leadership HQ and Enrollment Engine. With our battle-tested frameworks and blueprints, leaders have achieved 90% parent retention, 50% less staff turnover, 15% improved profit margins, and increased enrollment by 25%. My mission is simple: to revolutionize school leadership by elevating the skills, the habits, and mindset of passionate leaders ready to create lasting change. Join me as we build your legacy of excellence, one transformative conversation at a time. In today's conversation, I'm going to share the top 10 patterns that I saw from being inside the arena. This is not as a data analyst or someone that comes on the side and has these fancy graphs and no. This is from being nose to nose, toes to toes, talking to people, looking into their eyes, seeing the depth of their soul, listening to the tremors inside of their voice, and actually feeling what is happening inside of the arena. I don't just study the market from afar, which is a big part of just what I do in my job and my leadership role. I sit across of leaders eye to eye. And so in the last 12 months inside of the arena, not watching from the stands, right? I want to show you what actually happened, because I think that in the last couple of days that I've been listening to different episodes in preparation for 2026, I've heard too much theory, data sets, and recycled leadership jargon. And I'm done. Like, no. And I'm like, I need to record this episode because this is not from data sets or theory. This is lived proximity. Like, I am actually sitting and talking to people. And I actually witnessed what held leaders over the last year through chaos and what collapsed them when the pressure hits. So what you're about to hear are the 10 truths that I witnessed up close and what they predict for 2026. They are not trends that you will see on LinkedIn. They were not things that you will see on white paper. They are the undercurrents shaping the next era of leadership, the ones that reveal themselves when you have been sitting in the trenches long enough to feel the shift before anyone names it. And so there will be no jargon here. There will be no fancy mindset tips here. There will be no surface level predictions. If you want a real window into what is coming, you're in the right place. Okay. So number one, and again, this is in no particular order, but number one, the era of synthetic energy is done. Okay. The 2025 trend of leaders that are exhausted by glazed motivation and hype content, which is actually tone deaf. Okay. Motivation that is constantly like, trust more, hustle more, push more, remember your why, come on, you're capable, you can do this. That is tone deaf to high achieving leaders. Okay. They do not need to be told to remember their why. They need to be reminded that they're human. I'm going to say that again for everyone in the back. High achieving leaders do not need to be told that they're capable or to remember their why. They need to be reminded that they're human and that they're allowed to rest. That type of hype does not resonate with performance positivity and this high dopamine leadership culture, or, just hold people accountable, or, just delegate better, or you really need to trust more. Shut up. The era of synthetic leadership is over. Okay, because there is not just a physical exhaustion. There is a deep soul level exhaustion. Leaders are tired of trying to manufacture energy that they do not feel. So this is not about, we need to get your mindset right. Just drink more water and write your gratitudes and your affirmations. No, they don't work, because I work with people one-on-one and I see what's actually sustainable. And so you listen to the podcast, you hear the reel, you write your quote on the whiteboard, but it is borrowed energy. It is synthetic. It doesn't last. It is eating chips and sugar when your body needs protein. And that is why on Friday afternoon, you're exhausted, because the energy that you borrowed from all the hype people was never yours to begin with. You do not need another pep talk. You need restoration. You need someone to witness the real cost of trying to hold it all together. And I have seen this up close this year. I've had leaders look at me in the eyes and say, I want to feel safe enough to slow down. I want to feel safe enough to slow down. I want to be held. I want relief. I want peace. And so 2026 prediction will be the year that leaders are going to actually invest in places that help them create their own energy, not borrow it. 2026 is going to belong to the leaders who finally step away from the hype and the motivation world. And they understand that they don't need to go borrow other people's energy or protect it. They understand that they can create their own energy from the inside out. Leaders are going to stop trading quick hits of motivation for the quiet power of identity work. They're going to understand how to build pre-decided rhythms, which I'm going to talk about in a moment as the second trend, because they're going to understand for real that their life has always been unpredictable. They've been just trying to control it. And they're going to understand that practicing emotional regulation is not about self-help or affirmations. It is stewardship of their own presence for their people and their peace. Motivation as we know it is going to die in 2026, and I hope it does, because we are going to rise into a place of restorative leadership. Somebody asked me the other day when they were inviting me to do something, they're like, "Oh, are you a motivational speaker?" I said, "Hell to the no, I'm not a motivational speaker. I am a restorative speaker. I bring restoration and peace and relief to the room. Nobody needs motivation. I'm not talking to amateurs. I am talking to high achieving people. They do not need motivation. They need to know that their nervous system sets the tone for calm and chaos. People do not need to be revved up. No, they don't. They need to feel witnessed and steady and safe enough to bring their entire selves to work. That is what leaders need in 2026. So that's my first one. Second, system fatigue is here. And so rhythm leadership is next. If 2025 exposed anything, it is that leaders have tried to system, SOP, and process their way out of chaos. They've bought every template, every SOP, every EOS, everything, conscious discipline, this thing, that thing, all the stuff, Asana, ClickUp, Monday, all the things, everything, color-coded, checklists, spreadsheets, Slack channels, oh God, they've got everything. And then life happened, and somebody got sick, or their key director went on maternity leave, or the owner had surgery, or the owner's dad had got cancer. And so every system that looked perfect on paper collapsed in real life, because systems are not built to restore people. Schools are full of people, kids, teachers, assistant teachers, curriculum specialists, owners, parents. They're full of people, messy, emotional, brilliant, unpredictable people. People are messy, emotionally brilliant, and unpredictable people. I watch this play out again and again and again and again. A director would show me the most amazing operations and the most amazing spreadsheets, and then she would look at me and say, "I don't understand. We follow every single step in the SOP and in the checklist. We have 80,000 SOPs. This is a quote directly from my book, This Can't Be Normal. And everything still falls apart." And she would look at me with tears, sobbing. I thought that if I built everything, I would finally feel steady. But all I did was create more things that I have to maintain and be in charge of. That is system fatigue. It is the exhaustion that comes from trying to automate something that actually can't be automated. You can't automate trust. Trust is not software. 2026 is the year. This is what I predict. Okay. Schools are going to shift from system building to rhythm-based leadership. This is what I teach. Rhythm-based leadership. You're going to understand that systems create structure. Standards create clarity, and rhythms create safety. And that's what people want. People want emotional safety. They want one-on-ones that happen every single week, even when they're tired, exhausted, and not in the mood. They want gratitude that rehumanizes them, not gives them something to be like, "Oh, here you go. Here's your special perk." They want classroom observations that actually say, "I see you and I'm here to actually be part of your growth and development." They want repair rhythms that build trust, not policies like, "Well, this is the policy." These are the invisible practices that are going to hold schools together, because spreadsheets cannot hold your school together. And so if you are constantly rebuilding systems, it's not because you're doing it wrong. It's because you are trying to replace something that cannot be replaced. Presence, attunement, emotional safety. You're going to hear the market begging for this because the best leaders are the ones who have lived through burnout and they still show up. They've walked through grief. They've walked through isolation. They've walked through all of this and they're like, yeah, no, thank you anymore to all of this. I'm good. I would like safety. I would like standards. I would like guardrails and I would like rhythms of excellence and I would like consequences when people don't follow through because that is what helps people feel safe. No checklist in the world is going to save you. It's just not. So that's my second prediction. And the second pattern. Okay, third pattern. The invisible weight became visible. Okay, chapter 1 in my book, This Can't Be Normal, is called The Invisible Weight of Leadership. And if I had to name something that really happened in 2025, it's that the invisible weight of leadership is finally becoming visible. I have looked at leaders with full teams, people in meetings, people sending updates, and they're still carrying everything. They have a full payroll that they are dying trying to figure out how to cover. But they still hold the pressure and the emotion and the unspoken tension of keeping everything together. They are holding the entire ecosystem on their back. And for a long time, it was invisible. It was just, this is just what it is. 2025, it's become undeniable. Everyone has felt the collective wall hit. And what's happening is leaders I can't absorb everyone's emotions. I can't keep being the emotional parent in a building full of adults. And so 2025 revealed clarity about what no longer works. And so 2026 is going to belong to the leaders who decide they're done being the safety net and the system for everyone else's unpredictability, inconsistency, and performing confusion. And they are ready to actually live inside real standards and real consequences. And 2026, the strongest schools are going to anchor in 4 things. And this is what we teach inside of Schools of Excellence. Integrity of standard. What is written is actually what is lived. It is the lived reality, not the fantasy reality. Like, but we have that standard. But we have that value. Guardrails, boundaries that protect the leader and the team from resentment and burnout. Those are going to be the guardrails. There are rhythms, which are consistent practices that bring standards to life every single week, not just when chaos hits, not just when you're in the mood, not just when whatever, fill in the blank. And there's going to be consequence. Consequence is predictable safety. Consequence is not punishment. It is predictable safety. It is predictable, calm follow through when the standard isn't met. There's going to be actual consequence when you don't live up to the standard. Because the next era of leadership in 2026 is not going to be measured by how calm you are or how calm you kept everyone. It's going to be measured by the amount of people that rise up to the level of your standards. Because let me tell you something, once you taste that kind of steadiness, once you live that kind of partnership and that kind of anchored leadership, you ain't ever going back again. You're going to actually understand what right fit means. And a whole new thing that my team and I are actually creating right now is high altitude leadership. And what does it mean to be a high altitude thinker and a high altitude leader, which is a whole separate podcast conversation. Okay. So that's the third one. The fourth one, the rise of discernment-based leadership. Okay. So leaders this year were drowning in choices, but not choices between good and bad. They were drowning between multiple wonderful things happening all at the same time. So one of the most striking things that I saw this year was how many leaders were struggling with so many good things all happening at the same time. A new classroom opening, a child being born, a key promotion, a building renovation, a new building opportunity, an expansion, an exit, a family milestone. Everything is beautiful, but when it all comes at the same time, you feel like you're collapsing. And so 2025 revealed something that most leadership frameworks never talk about. It's not the bad things that break us. It's the abundance that we've never learned how to hold. It is not the bad things or hard things that break us. It's the abundance that we've never learned how to hold. When everything feels important, because it is important, then everything becomes urgent. And so when everything is urgent, you stop being able to see. Everything becomes foggy. I write about that in my book. And that's what happened. And what I watched happen over the course of this year is that leaders were running these really thriving schools, but they still felt like they were failing. Not because they lacked any kind of drive or energy or strategy or because they didn't delegate properly. No, that's not why they were failing. Okay. It's because they did not build the skill of discernment, the discernment muscle that says, all of this is good. All of this is amazing, but it is not all of mine to hold in this season. It is not all of mine to hold in this season. It is the quiet authority and self-trust to pause and say, is this mine to hold right now? Or is this just really loud? Is this urgent? Or am I just being very emotional? Is this the next right thing? Or is this just the next available thing? And 2026 is going to belong to leaders who build their discernment muscle, because it's not just about who choose less is more. Okay. They are going to understand how to trade velocity and speed with anchored vision, who are going to treat their time, energy, and attention as sacred resources to steward, not to prove their worth. Their time, their energy, and their attention are sacred resources to steward, not to prove their worth. Discernment is going to become the new executive functioning of leadership. And the schools that are going to thrive are going to be led by people who have the courage to disappoint quickly. They're going to say no without guilt. They're going to trust that clarity is kinder than any kind of overcommitment in the world. You don't need to learn how to do more, my dear. You need to learn how to see again, how to see and choose in the fog. And that's discernment. Because when you can see clearly and witness clearly, you stop chasing movement and you actually start understanding how to create real momentum. 2026, it's not going to reward the busiest leaders. It's going to create incredible reward for the discerning ones. And discernment is an anchor and is a rhythm that you create through mentorship, through friendship, and through many other things, which I'm not going to go into here. They're all inside my book. So that's the fourth one. Fifth one, AI will not replace leaders. It will expose them. AI will not replace leaders. It will expose them. 2025, AI revealed which leaders had systems and which leaders had hustle and stamina and proving themselves. Okay, because AI can automate every single task. AI cannot create emotional maturity. It cannot create ownership, and it cannot lead teams. AI can write your newsletter. It can analyze your enrollment data. It can summarize your meetings. It cannot build trust. It cannot regulate the emotional temperature of a team after a hard conversation. It cannot hold a standard with grace and consequence at the exact same time. AI cannot do that. And that is where 2026 is going to draw the clear line between operators and leaders. AI will become the mirror of your leadership capacity. And here's something else that's happening in 2026, and it's already going on now in 2025, but it's going to blow up. It's the era of AI employees, not a gimmick, not a fancy tool. AI employees are digital teammates that execute work so you, the human team, can rise into more strategic, relational, and creative lanes. And at Schools of Excellence, my team is already building this. We are going to be building AI employees who handle reoccurring admin data reporting so that real human leaders, myself, my team, or coaches, can actually use their time and energy on mentoring, on discernment, on leadership. This is where the massive chasm happens, because leaders who fear AI continue to try to outwork it and try to prove their way through it. Leaders who understand it, they're going to know how to lead it. Okay, so the highest performing leaders in 2026 are going to use AI for enrollment pattern tracking, communication consistency, marketing and parent insights, operational alerts, all kinds of stuff like that. But here is the question for 2026. It is not, what can AI do? What can AI do? That is not the question. The question is, what does my leadership make AI do? That is why you must continue to reinvest in your leadership, because it's not about what AI can do. It's what your leadership is going to make the AI do for you and the business. Number 6, staff culture will shift from perks to predictability. Okay, I've been saying this for years, but I think 2025 is finally crushing people at the knees. Perks do not retain people. Bonuses do not build trust. People do not stay because you have snacks and teacher gifts or Crocs, okay? They stay when the environment is predictable, okay? Every few months, there's like this new staff culture idea that goes viral and everyone gets so excited about it, okay? I was talking to a leader and I almost died when she said this. I asked her, I was like, how's your culture? She's like, well, we have such a great culture now. We decided that we're going to let our teachers wear Crocs, and they were so happy and everyone was so excited. And I was like, oh my God, you completely lost the plot if you think that teachers wearing Crocs is what makes an amazing culture. You're still trying to buy and bend your way into loyalty and motivation and buy-in and hyping people up and getting people excited, and free lunches and theme days and flexible dress codes and birthday gift cards and all the things. Guys, those do not create safety. Culture doesn't collapse when you stop giving out perks. Culture collapses when people stop trusting the patterns that you create. Okay? Teachers aren't leaving because they don't have enough coffee or because they can't wear comfy shoes. Teachers are leaving because they can't predict the emotional climate of the day. One morning you're warm and connected. The next morning you're on edge and reactive. One week expectations are strict. The next day they're loose because you got tired and you're not in the mood. That unpredictability erodes safety faster than any policy change ever could. So there's a psychologist, her name is Erica, I forgot to pronounce her last name, and she was sharing on a podcast a study that was done on poor families and very affluent families. And the study revealed that children that grow up in poverty and children that grow up in affluent homes have the same degree of mental illness and the same degree of mental health challenges. And what the study was revealing is that children that grow up in poverty, that struggle with mental illness because of their circumstance, children that grow up in affluent homes who are raised by nannies or raised by other people also have high degrees of mental illness struggle because of their circumstance. Now, the circumstances are different, but it's the same circumstance. It's neglect. So in a poverty home, it's one kind of neglect. In an affluent home, it's a different kind of neglect. But at the core, it's neglect. Because every child needs emotional attunement and presence, something that AI and no other thing can replicate. Your staff do not need crock days. Your staff do not need another coffee cart. Your staff need predictable presence. They need attunement. They need safety. And that cannot be outsourced. The strongest cultures create consistent feedback loops that lets people know where they stand. They have predictable schedules that don't change with every staffing mood. They have clear standards that are lived out, not performed. They have predictable consequences. They have repair rhythms that restore safety after conflict. Culture isn't created by adding more fun. It is created by reducing uncertainty and creating predictability through consistent, reliable, repeatable behavior. If your team looks happy, but you feel tense all the time, you don't have culture. You're doing crowd control. 2026 is going to be the leaders, I believe, are finally going to understand that culture isn't a vibe. It's a pattern. It's the rhythm that people can count on when everything else wobbles. So please let your people wear Crocs and buy them coffee and do all the things that you want to do, but never confuse comfort with culture. When your staff actually need is not new shoes. It's a leader they can emotionally trust to show up the same way again and again and again and again. That kind of predictability keeps people, not the perks, the bonuses, the raises, or the promotions. Predictability is safety. That is what people want. The culture currency of 2026 is consistent feedback. It's predictable schedules. It's stability and emotional safety. It's clear expectations. It's predictable consequence. It's fewer surprises. And what I would like to see in 2026 is the year that the death of we're a family. No more of that. This is the rise of we are a team with standards. We are not we're a family. No, you're not. You're a team with standards. And teams have standards, guardrails, boundaries, and predictable consequence. That is what teams have. We are not a family. We are a team that has shared standards. I want the death of we're a family inside of cultures. You're not a family. She is not your mom. This is not your sister or your brother. This is not your grandfather. And this is not your child. You guys are a team, and teams have shared standards and predictable rhythms and reliable consequence and emotional safety. Cool, I'm on my soapbox. I got to calm down. Number 7, raising tuition is not the answer or cutting costs. It's money leaks. 2025, finally, people started realizing that full is not profitable. Did you know that? Full schools are not always profitable because you can be full, you could be busy, and broke. And so if I had to name one of the biggest awakenings of 2025, it's that leaders are finally realizing they don't have a profit problem. They have a money leak problem. Because for decades, school owners blamed their margins on the wrong things. I need a better accountant. We need a new bookkeeper. I should probably hire a different tax strategist. I need to go into a tax strategist breakout session at the next conference. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't need to go into another tax strategist session at the next breakout session. No, you don't. All of those things matter. Yes, you need a tax strategist. Yes, you need a bookkeeper. Yes, you need an accountant. But that is not what is causing your profit problems. Here is what 2025 revealed. Okay, you can have the best accountant in the world, but you can't build profit if your daily decisions leak money everywhere. You cannot build wealth and profit if your daily decisions leak money everywhere. And I saw this in school after school after school. This is what happens when you're in the arena. I'm in the arena. I talk to leaders every single day. Leaders one-on-one, not just in group formats. I talk to leaders in group formats also, but one-to-one, where they can't bullshit me. Beautiful schools, full classrooms, happy families, and still the owner cannot tell me where the money was going. It wasn't theft. No one was stealing from them. It wasn't fraud. It was tiny, invisible money leaks that drain thousands and thousands of dollars every single month. Space that isn't optimized, schedules that weren't aligned with ratios, food costs that got out of control, supply orders without review, admin systems that double charged or order renewed on tools that no one ever used. And here's the part that no one talks about. Money leaks are not just financial. They are energetic. Every leak creates a drag. It's not just lost money. It's lost confidence. It's lost momentum. It's lost clarity. And so 2026, what it's going to define, okay, is the highest performing schools are going to treat money leaks the way that they treat enrollment and staffing data. Okay, it's going to be leadership insight, not shame. Leaders in 2026 that are going to track the 6 money leaks that I talk about: space optimization, payment systems, schedule efficiency, food control, supply management, and admin and tech systems. Financial health is not about making more money or raising your tuition or cutting lifeline costs. It's about keeping more of what you already make. Okay, profit doesn't live in your QuickBooks file. It lives in the daily operational decisions. This is why I always say profit is a calendar problem. Profit is a calendar problem because it is your daily operational decisions that are leaking your profit. So 2026, who's winning in 2026? Leaders who stop looking at numbers like a report card and start looking at their numbers through the lens of a money leaks diagnostic. Because the schools that are going to rise next year are not the ones that have the most expensive tax strategies or the fanciest tax strategies. Please get good tax strategy. They're the ones who are going to finally stop the leaks. Okay, that's number 7. Number 8, parents did not need more updates. They need predictability. One of the loudest themes of 2025 is parent relationships up until now broke its old contract. Okay, parents used to walk into buildings and they used to trust. And we know that since COVID, that all changed. But parents now arrive like hyper informed and really undersecure. Okay, they like know all the information and they have no idea how to synthesize anything or like metabolize it into action. Okay, they scroll like 9 Facebook groups before drop off. They read headlines and then they come in there questioning every single policy. And I write this in my book. They're not trying to be difficult. They are begging for predictable safety in a world that isn't. This world is anything but predictable and safe. And I watch school leaders bend over backwards and forwards trying to meet fear with more information, trying to meet uncertainty and unpredictability with more information, more updates, more newsletters, more communication apps, more pictures, more updates in ProCare, more this. Like, if they know every single time that he peed and pooped, they're going to feel safe. No, he's not. The parent is not going to trust you more if they know that they peed at 10:19 versus 10:23. That is not what builds safety. That is not what builds relationships. It is not what builds partnership if they know that they had 4 potatoes versus 2 potatoes. Guys, you know it's ridiculous. You're laughing out loud while you're listening or watching me. Parents don't need to know when they peed. Now, I'm not saying that you don't update it in the apps. That's part of the process or the protocol. Do it. But do not mistaken that if a parent knows that, now all of a sudden, oh, they trust us. What do you mean? Of course they trust us. We let them know that he peed at 10:19. Trust installed. Come on. Information does not calm fear, okay? Predictability, partnership, and connection rhythms do, okay? Parents don't want another update. I promise the parents don't care if he peed at what time. They really, really don't. They want to know what to expect. They want to feel the same tone from your team every time they walk into the room. They want to trust that if something goes wrong, you will handle it the same way that you always do, with calm, predictable, reliable. And so what 2025 made unbelievably painfully clear is that you cannot outcommunicate anxiety. Parents want connection, not information. Information is not connection. Information is formation. Parents are begging for bids for connection. And so they come in saying like, but how many potatoes did he actually eat? That is a bid for connection. They want to connect with you. And the only way they know how to connect with you is about how many potatoes the kids ate. Stop trying to please parents through more information. Educate them how to partner with you and connect with you. Stop giving inbox noise. Create relational and connection rhythms. That's what I teach inside of Schools of Excellence, okay? Leaders that install parent connection rhythms, predictable touch points, clear boundaries around communication, calm, repeatable language during moments of chaos and tension. When parents know those rhythms, they stop bracing for the next surprise. They exhale. They don't care when he peed. Your parents do not need more access to you. They need to experience you as steady, reliable, and predictable. And so the 2026 leaders are not going to be the ones the fanciest apps or the prettiest newsletters or the ones that make the most updates. They're going to be the ones where the parents can say, I'm probably not going to get everything that I want, but I always know what to expect. And I know the standards here. That's trust. Trust doesn't come from volume. It comes from rhythm. Okay. Number 9. Leaders are attracted to places, communities, programs that give them their life back. Okay. If 2025 had a soundtrack, it would be the low hum of exhaustion and fatigue. Every single time I spoke this year, whether it's first-time directors or to 10 school operators or owners, every single one of them carried the same quiet fatigue. And it's not laziness and it's not burnout. It is the weight of holding too much. Back to school crisis, family pressures, illness, grief, loss, teams in transition, calendars that feel like a war zone. Okay. The leaders I met weren't running out of passion. They were running themselves out of the ground. Okay. And people are done signing up for programs that give them another system or another spreadsheet or another set of action items that they have to manage. Nobody wants more to do. They want capacity to be. That's why 2026 leaders are going to actually grow inside of companies that help the leader's internal capacity, not their effing to-do list. Nobody wants a to-do list. Okay? The market is hungry for something really deep, for frameworks that build identity and emotional safety and relational intelligence and anchored rhythms. And that's everything that we've been building over the last 2 years, but really the last year. Leaders don't want another plan. They don't want another reset. They don't want another new year, new me. They want their life back. They want their evenings back. They want their calendars to look like real breathing room, not proof of their worth. Leaders do not want to buy productivity. They want to buy peace and relief and being held. They are searching for containers that restore energy, not drain them. They are looking for communities that create space for truth, not performance. They are looking for mentorship that helps them lead as a whole human being, not a walking, profitable deliverable. They want a program that grows and expands their nervous system and their capacity to lead, not just knowledge. Nobody needs knowledge. Go type into AI any of the knowledge you want. The next generation of high-performing leaders are not going to be the ones that handle the most. They're going to be the ones who have the capacity to stay human. And that's where leadership is headed. And if I have to say, that's the work I'm most proud of. I am most proud of that work. And my last one. Delegation is becoming an identity act, not a task transfer. That's why the last couple workshops that I've been doing is delegation isn't the finish line, ownership is. I watch leaders spend the last 12 months try to outsource as much as they can. And they would often say things like, I don't care how it gets done, just get it done, right? Believing that was some form of empowerment. Like, I told them they could do it and I told them I trust them. Like, I have to empower them. But what the team hears beneath that, I don't care how it gets done, just get it done, is this work is beneath me. And I used to speak like that. And I noticed that I used to tell my own people, like, here's the thing, like, I trust you. I don't care how it gets done, just get it done. And what I've realized over the last few months, and this is why this is my final reflection, because it's very raw and real for me, is when I say I don't care how it gets done, what it was actually communicating is this work is beneath me. This work is low value and annoying. And my job is more meaningful work, and your job is the grunt work. And what I realized is when I tell my people, I don't care how it gets done, it lands as dismissal. It lands as this hierarchy without real partnership. And what it does is it really lands as you're a helper, not an actual owner. And what was crazy to me is like, I never actually meant that, right? At all. But I know this from my own leadership practice that meaning doesn't matter, okay? The energy does, the interpretation does, and the impact does. And what I've realized is this is why teams hesitate. It's why they second guess. It's why they don't grow. It's because the work that you assign them feels like your trash, not your trust. And so, real delegation is, and this is what I started to practice, I want you to fully own this. If I had the capacity, I would actually hold this because it matters that much. And I'm moving into a new era of growth to grow and expand another part of the company. And so I choose you to lead this. I choose you. I believe in you. I'm elevating you. And so what it communicates to the leader is this work is meaningful. And you were selected to do this, not dumped on. Your decisions in this arena impact the organization. You're rising into a new level of leadership. You're not absorbing my leftovers. And so what happens is now it lands as an investment, as an expansion, as identity building. And that's where ownership is born. When I used to say I don't care, it signals this is beneath me. I want to avoid this. I'm too busy. And so this is not just semantics. It is a cultural difference that I'm inviting into my company and into the leaders that I'm going to lead. It is the difference between a leader who obeys tasks and a team that grows into actual leaders. So when you say, I don't care how, just do it, your team never steps into leadership. If we can change our language in 2026 to say, I choose you for this because the work matters, your team starts to see themselves as leaders because delegation creates identity, right? It evolves from this task transfer to this trust. It's delegating with intention. It's saying, I choose you, not I'm done with this. It's teams that really feel trusted and not dumped on. So delegation is how culture is going to be shaped. So I want to leave you with this because I know this was a long episode and I hope it was really helpful for you. I hope that today's conversation really opened a lens and a perspective in what 2025 has really been about and what 2026 is really going to predict into the future and what leaders are going to be seeking and searching. So here's what I would love to hear from you. Which one of the 10 most resonated or landed with you? And it could be more than one. Send us an email, which one's connected. But more than anything, I'd really love to hear which one of these you want me to go deeper into in 2026. We are creating our podcast calendar for 2026. I usually do some deep writing and creative work in the last 2 weeks of the year. So I would love to get some of your insight and feedback. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope that I really want to invite today's conversation into you taking a step into self-awareness, into a step of, I really, really want to step into a new era. I really want to step into 2026 as a new person, as a new leader, and return to who I am always, before the noise, before the grief, before the overwhelm, before the anxiety, before everything. And thanks so much for joining. If you are loving the Schools of Excellence podcast and have gotten any value out of it for your school, I would love if you can do 2 things for me. 1, subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. And 2, can you please leave us a review? Reviews help other school leaders know that this is the place to learn how to build a school of excellence. And I would be so grateful if you can do that for us. Your help and support makes this show to be able to be listened by the thousands of other school leaders all around the world. Thanks so much for listening, for giving us your time and attention each and every week, and I appreciate that you have joined us.